Picture one of the most dangerous moments imaginable on the African savanna. A fully grown lion and a massive rhinoceros suddenly standing face to face with nowhere to retreat. One is a predator that has spent millions of years perfecting the art of the hunt. The other is a walking fortress, built to survive almost anything the wild can throw at it. The lion arrives with all the tools you'd expect from the legendary king of beasts: razor-sharp claws, crushing jaws, explosive speed, and the intelligence of a highly coordinated predator. It's an animal capable of bringing down prey many times its own size through strategy, teamwork, and precision. But across the battlefield stands a completely different kind of powerhouse. The rhinoceros is a living tank, weighing several tons, protected by armor-like skin, and armed with a horn powerful enough to turn almost any attacker into a casualty in seconds. And here's the question that makes this matchup so fascinating. If these two African icons were forced into a hypothetical battle, who would actually come out on top? Would speed, intelligence, and predatory instincts be enough to overcome overwhelming size and raw power? Or would the rhino prove that sometimes nature's best strategy is simply being bigger, tougher, and nearly impossible to stop? The answer isn't as obvious as it might seem. Before we decide a winner, we're going to dive deep into the incredible adaptations, hidden abilities, surprising strengths, and little-known facts that make both of these animals among the most formidable creatures on Earth. And by the end of the showdown, you may see both the lion and the rhino in a completely different way. What makes lions truly unique among the world's big cats isn't just their strength, it's their society. While most large feline predators live solitary lives, lions have evolved into some of the most socially sophisticated hunters on Earth, organized into tightly bonded groups known as prides. A pride is far more than a collection of animals sharing the same territory. It functions as a complex social network where individuals recognize one another through unique roars that can travel up to 5 miles across the savanna, allowing members to stay connected even when separated by vast distances. The cooperation goes even deeper when cubs enter the picture. Lionesses often synchronize their births, creating generations of cubs that grow up side by side, and mothers will frequently nurse one another's young, turning cub rearing into a shared responsibility rather than an individual task. Communication within a pride extends far beyond roaring. Subtle ear positions, tail movements, facial expressions, and body posture allow lions to exchange information silently, a crucial advantage when hunting prey that can detect even the slightest sign of danger. Perhaps most impressive of all, different prides can develop their own preferred hunting strategies and behaviors. These learned techniques are passed from one generation to the next, creating something that looks remarkably similar to culture rather than simple instinct. But social intelligence is only one part of what makes a lion such a formidable predator. Life on the savanna is unpredictable, and lions are built to handle long periods of scarcity followed by moments of incredible abundance. When a hunt is successful, a lion can consume more than 75 pounds of meat in a single meal. That ability allows them to endure days without eating afterward, helping them survive in an environment where opportunities to catch large prey can be rare and uncertain. Their bodies are engineered for explosive performance rather than long-distance pursuit. A charging lion can reach speeds of around 50 miles per hour, unleashing a burst of power designed to overwhelm prey before it has time to react. Much of that hunting advantage becomes even greater after sunset. Lions possess a reflective layer in their eyes known as the tapetum lucidum, giving them night vision roughly 6 times better than that of humans and allowing them to operate with remarkable effectiveness in darkness. Combined with silent communication and coordinated teamwork, this turns a pride into a highly efficient nocturnal hunting force. While their prey struggles to see danger approaching, lions are already positioning themselves for the attack. Even their tongues are built for the demands of a predator's lifestyle. Covered in backward-facing keratin spines, they function almost like natural rasps, allowing lions to strip flesh from bone with extraordinary efficiency and extract every possible nutrient from a hard-earned meal. For all of their power and prestige, however, life as a lion is anything but guaranteed. the savannah is unforgiving, and even the king of beasts faces constant challenges from the moment it is born. Lion cubs face staggering odds during their first years of life. Disease, starvation, predators, and conflicts within the pride claim many young lions long before they ever reach adulthood. One of the harshest realities of lion society occurs when new males seize control of a pride. To ensure their own bloodline continues, incoming males will often kill existing cubs, causing females to return to breeding conditions sooner, and giving the newcomers an opportunity to pass on their own genes. Competition among adult males is equally brutal. Rival lions engage in violent battles for territory, mates, and control of prides, with the outcome often determining whether a male's genetic legacy survives or disappears entirely. Those battles help explain one of the lion's most famous features, its mane. Far more than a symbol of beauty or status, the mane acts as natural armor during fights while also signaling age, health, strength, and genetic quality to both rivals and potential mates. Despite their dominance, lions have also experienced dramatic losses on a much larger scale. Historically, they roamed across vast regions of Africa, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. But today, they occupy only a small fraction of that former range. It's a reminder that even one of nature's most successful predators must constantly fight for survival. The lion's story is ultimately one of power, cooperation, adaptation, and resilience in a world where every advantage matters. But if lions represent the savannah's most famous predator, their opponent in this matchup represents something entirely different. The rhinoceros is not a hunter, yet it has evolved into one of the most intimidating and heavily armored animals on Earth. Rhinos are often portrayed as simple, solitary giants, but their lives are far more sophisticated than most people realize. Beneath that massive exterior is an animal constantly gathering information and communicating in ways that often go unnoticed. Although they spend much of their time alone, rhinos maintain a surprisingly complex communication network centered around communal dung piles known as middens. These sites function almost like wildlife message boards, allowing individuals to leave behind information about their identity, territory, and reproductive status. Other rhinos can visit these locations and interpret the chemical messages left behind. This system helps neighboring animals recognize one another and often reduces the need for unnecessary confrontations. Their communication relies heavily on scent because vision is not one of the rhino's greatest strengths. In fact, rhinos sometimes struggle to identify objects even at relatively short distances. To compensate, evolution has equipped them with exceptional hearing and an extraordinarily powerful sense of smell. Together, these senses allow rhinos to build a detailed understanding of their surroundings without relying heavily on eyesight. In a hypothetical battle against a lion, that combination of awareness, size, and raw durability would make the rhino a very different challenge than the prey lions typically encounter. And as we'll soon see, that's only the beginning of what makes these giants so formidable. If a lion is built for speed, precision, and teamwork, then the rhino is built for an entirely different purpose, absorbing punishment and delivering overwhelming force. Nearly every part of its body is designed to make life difficult for anything reckless enough to challenge it. Perhaps the rhino's most famous weapon is its horn. Despite looking like solid bone, the horn is actually composed entirely of densely packed keratin fibers, the same material found in human hair and fingernails. Even more remarkable, these horns grow continuously throughout a rhino's life. If damaged, they can continue growing and gradually regenerate over time, ensuring the animal never permanently loses one of its most important defensive tools. The rest of the rhino's body is just as impressive. Beneath its rugged appearance lies skin that can exceed 2 inches in thickness in certain areas, providing substantial protection against injuries, thorns, and predator attacks. At first glance, an animal weighing well over 2 tons might seem slow and cumbersome, but that assumption disappears very quickly when a rhino decides to move. Some species are capable of sprinting at speeds approaching 40 miles per hour, making them one of the fastest large land mammals on Earth. For a creature of that size, the combination of speed, momentum, and mass can be absolutely staggering. Rhinos don't face the world entirely alone either. Many form a unique partnership with oxpecker birds, which often ride on their backs and feed on parasites found on the rhino's skin. The relationship benefits both animals. While the birds gain an easy food source, rhinos gain a living alarm system that can help alert them to approaching danger long before they would otherwise notice it. But the rhino's importance extends far beyond its own survival. These giants play a critical role in shaping the ecosystems they call home, influencing the landscape every single day through their feeding habits. As they graze and browse, rhinos alter vegetation patterns and help create habitats that benefit countless other species. In many ways, they function as ecosystem engineers, quietly reshaping their environment simply by living in it. Their sheer size also gives them a level of security few animals enjoy. Healthy adult rhinos are so powerful that very few predators are willing to risk an attack. Calves, however, face a much more dangerous world. Young rhinos depend heavily on their mothers for protection, and that bond can last for years. A rhino mother may invest up to 4 years raising a single calf before it becomes fully independent. That extended period of care gives young rhinos time to learn how to survive in an environment where strength alone isn't always enough. Their story becomes even more extraordinary when viewed through the lens of deep time. The rhino lineage stretches back more than 50 million years, making them descendants of one of the oldest and most successful mammalian groups on the planet. Among their ancient relatives was Parasauritherium, a colossal species that became the largest land mammal ever known. Towering above modern rhinos in both height and weight, it was one of the most spectacular giants to ever walk the earth. Modern rhinos are therefore much more than oversized herbivores. They are living representatives of an ancient dynasty, survivors of millions of years of environmental change, carrying a legacy that predates countless species that have long since disappeared. And when you combine that incredible durability, immense size, explosive speed, and natural weaponry, it becomes easier to understand why even a predator as formidable as a lion would have to think very carefully before picking a fight with one. Now, for the question we've been building toward from the very beginning, if a lion and a rhinoceros were somehow forced into a one-on-one confrontation, which of these African giants would walk away the winner? At first glance, the lion seems like it would have several important advantages. After all, this is one of the world's most accomplished predators, an animal that survives by reading opponents, identifying weaknesses, and turning split-second opportunities into successful attacks. A large male lion brings an impressive arsenal to the battlefield. It possesses crushing jaws, razor-sharp claws, explosive acceleration, and the agility to rapidly change direction while an opponent commits to an attack. Unlike a rhino, the lion is also a specialist in combat and predation. Its instincts are built around assessing risk, finding openings, and targeting vulnerable areas such as the eyes, nose, legs, or hindquarters. In theory, that agility would allow the lion to circle, dodge, and search for weaknesses rather than meeting its opponent head-on. But this is where the matchup becomes far more complicated than it first appears. The animals lions typically hunt, zebras, wildebeest, antelope, and even buffalo, are dangerous, but they are not built like rhinos. A fully grown rhinoceros presents an entirely different level of challenge. The rhino's body is protected by exceptionally thick skin, enormous muscle mass, and a frame that can outweigh even the largest male lion by several thousand pounds. Every attack the lion launches would have to overcome an extraordinary amount of natural armor. Even more concerning for the lion is the margin for error. Against many prey animals, a mistake can be painful. Against a rhino, a single mistake could be fatal. One direct impact from a charging rhino or a well-placed strike from its horn could cause catastrophic injuries in an instant. The lion would need to fight nearly perfectly while avoiding every major counterattack. Meanwhile, the rhino enters the contest with advantages that are impossible to ignore. Depending on the species, it can weigh anywhere from 3,000 to more than 5,000 pounds, making it one of the most heavily built land animals on the planet. Despite that enormous size, a rhino is anything but slow. Capable of reaching speeds approaching 40 miles per hour, it combines tremendous mass with surprising acceleration, creating a level of momentum few animals can withstand. Its thick hide provides significant protection against bites and claws, while its horn serves as a devastating weapon capable of inflicting fatal wounds on almost any opponent. Simply getting close enough to attack carries enormous risk. To be fair, the rhino is not without weaknesses. Its eyesight is relatively poor, and unlike the lion, it has not evolved as a specialized hunter accustomed to tracking and outmaneuvering moving targets. A fast, intelligent lion could potentially exploit that limitation by staying mobile and attacking from unpredictable angles. But there is a major difference between annoying a rhino and actually defeating one. To win, the lion would need to remain within striking distance long enough to inflict meaningful damage while continuously avoiding an opponent that outweighs it several times over and only needs one successful counterattack to end the fight. When all the advantages and disadvantages are weighed together, the outcome becomes difficult to ignore. The lion possesses superior agility, combat experience, and strategy, but the rhino possesses overwhelming size, durability, and stopping power. In most realistic scenarios involving a healthy adult rhino and a lone lion, the rhino would likely emerge victorious. The lion may be the savannah's most famous predator, but this is one opponent that simply brings too much armor and too much power to the battlefield. Sometimes intelligence and strategy are enough to overcome brute force, but in this matchup, the rhino's hardware is so overwhelming that it would likely give the ancient giant a decisive advantage in a direct fight. After exploring the incredible worlds of lions and rhinos, it becomes clear that these animals are living proof that nature doesn't build champions in just one way. Each represents a completely different solution to the same challenge: surviving in one of the most competitive environments on Earth. The lion has evolved into a master strategist of the savannah. Its success comes from intelligence, cooperation, precision, and explosive power, traits that allow it to take down prey many times its own size through skill rather than sheer force alone. The rhino, on the other hand, follows a very different blueprint. Instead of relying on teamwork or hunting instincts, it has become one of the most heavily built and resilient animals on the planet, surviving through incredible strength, durability, and an imposing presence that few creatures are willing to challenge. That's what makes this matchup so fascinating. On one side stands a predator perfected for attack. On the other stands a giant engineered to withstand it. And while imagining a battle between them is undeniably fun, the real story is even more impressive than the hypothetical showdown itself. Both animals are evolutionary masterpieces that have shaped the African landscape for thousands of years, each dominating its niche in completely different ways. The lion's legacy is written in strategy, communication, and coordinated hunts carried out beneath the cover of darkness. The rhino's legacy is written in ancient survival, immense power, and a lineage that stretches back more than 50 million years. Neither animal is better than the other. They are simply extraordinary for different reasons. One represents the pinnacle of predatory intelligence. The other represents the pinnacle of natural armor and endurance. So whether you're more amazed by the lion's ability to outthink its rivals or the rhino's ability to stand its ground against almost anything the wild can throw at it, there's one lesson this matchup leaves behind. When nature creates a champion, it doesn't follow a single blueprint. Sometimes it creates a hunter, sometimes it creates a tank, and sometimes it creates animals so incredible that comparing them reminds us just how powerful evolution can truly be. But what do you think? In this ultimate clash of strategy versus strength, which animal would you put your money on? The king of beasts or the living tank of the savannah?